Okay.
Hey, Lynette, welcome.
Hi, good morning, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Have you
Thank
have you been getting out and doing much photography lately? Outside of the stuff we've worked together, just to let everybody know, we do work together. You're in my mentorship program. Um, but yeah, anything else outside of that?
I have. I had a really busy last 48 hours. I went out and tried some landscape photography and had an opportunity to do some sports photography. So I've been trying to do a little bit of everything.
Excellent. Nice. Mixing it up, huh?
Trying to.
Nice. Hey, I know you have a couple of Instagrams. What's your main one?
My main one is photos by Mimi.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought so. I just wanted to bring up the
Yes.
correct one. So yeah, here we go. Cool. Oh, nice with the royal turns there.
Yes. Thank you.
This
That was
this
actually
ship is that from the Navy Yard?
it is from the Navy Yard.
Very
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
Lynette, how long have you been doing photography?
I've been doing photography about 3 years now. I started in 2017. I took a little break because I had to have hand surgery, and then I got
Okay,
back into it after that.
that's it. 3 years. I really thought you've been doing it longer. Yeah, that's awesome.
No, just 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, your
Thank you.
stuff's growing really good. So
Thank
nice mix
you.
of stuff too.
Thank you.
I know you shoot a lot of variety, which is really cool. So I
Thank you.
used to be the same way, and now it's just all birds. So
No. I'm
all right,
getting
so you
I'm
ready?
getting leaning more towards wildlife. The more I do other things, I'm trying to find my niche, and you know what?
Yeah,
Wildlife is definitely one of those for me.
yeah. Why is that standing out? Is it as far as like the challenge, or you just kind of like the whole just getting out in nature kind of thing, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. I love the tranquility and the serenity of nature, of course. It's way less hectic than, trying to do portrait photography. But it is very challenging, definitely very challenging. And you go out there and you
Yeah,
have days where you don't see anything, but you still don't mind that because, it's such a peaceful environment.
exactly. Yeah,
Mm,
totally. All right, let's get started. We'll start with this
okay.
first photo you picked here by Christian Spencer, and what a stunner, huh? Like this has got to be. I'm guessing Salt Lake. Yeah, Salt Flats. Yeah, a salt. I knew it was something like that because that's the only place I've ever seen where you get reflections like that with birds walking on it. And what
Mm,
emus, huh? Wow.
yes.
Um, so absolutely love that it's like a whole group of them kind of walking along. Oh, this is interesting. A male emu leads his young across the Salt Lake. Wow, pretty cool. And the colors are just, I mean, phenomenal. Incredible, either sunrise, sunset. Actually, it looks like sunset after sunset, and that reflection, is just incredible. Looks like such a calm evening. You can kind of almost feel the tranquility there, and it's probably incredibly quiet. And it looks like such a vast open space. Um, I'd love to see that kind of habitat sometime. I know that exists in a few different places around the world, but it's so very unique, and really makes for a unique photo that he captured very well here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
What
what
uh
I
what what made you pick it and stood out to you?
What stood out to me first, the colors are just so spot on. The reflections are amazing. And with the emus, you see the adult emu, and right away you don't know whether it's a male or a female until, of course, you read Christian's comments. But it's kind of like you can see the adult leading the its children behind them, and it's kind of taking them on a journey. And it's a journey that I want to jump into and I want to be a part of and find out like where they're going and what they're doing. So it just captured my eye and wanted to take me with them.
That's great. Yeah, it definitely has a story to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen close-ups of emu. They're not the most beautiful birds, so a more scenic approach is probably the way to go.
Definitely. And you know
Yeah.
what? actually reached out to Christian and I asked him, what inspired him and, how he planned it. He said that he planned this outing for about 3 weeks, his vision, he said he dreamed of it 3 weeks in advance. And,
Wow.
um, before he arrived, he had not realized that that the place actually never usually gets water because it is the Salt Lake,
Ah.
and when it does get water, it evaporates very quickly because of the salt. So, he's even said himself that it's truly an iconic photo and one that can never be copied because, they don't get that much rain. And to capture the emus walking across the salt plain at that time is just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Thanks so much for the
Yeah.
backstory on that. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
that makes it that extra level, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
nice.
Awesome.
All right, ready to move on to the next one?
I am.
All right, here's one I chose.
Ooh,
I figured you would like that. I know you've been
I
playing a
love
lot more
that.
with macro.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. I love it. I don't even know what he's sitting in, honestly. It's so close. Let's
Let's
see.
see. I don't know if he says. Yeah, I don't know if he says what it's in. It's some kind of plant that the thing,
Yeah,
flower, I guess, or who
yeah,
knows? You know, tropical stuff. It's from Costa Rica, so everything's amazing down there.
yeah. I love the colors. I love it's just vibrant, and the frog just sits in there so perfectly and jumps when he's not jumping, but he just jumps out at you for
Yeah.
sure. Mm, beautiful.
Kind of amazing how the color of the frog and what it's in match, you know?
Exactly.
Which I
Exactly.
wouldn't be surprised if that's part of its kind of evolution with its color. You know, it probably maybe hangs out in that kind of habitat quite often. So to camouflage itself
Mm,
is that color maybe.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a guess, but
I love
uh,
the use of the foreground and the background, you
yeah,
know, just kind of so creamy, and the frog just blends right in there.
got such a dreamy feel to it, doesn't it?
Sure does.
And then really
Sure does.
cool to see that he used flash with this. So he actually showed the original like a capture before without the use of flash,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, so he, you know, setting the exposure for the background. Greg mentioned that, you know, if he didn't have a flash and had to expose for the frog, you know, this background will probably just totally wash out and be really light. And so setting his camera to expose for these light spots back there and then just filling it in with the flash, which you can see has a big softbox, which you can notice by the catch light in the
Oh, that's
frog's
awesome.
eye there. You can see he's got a nice softbox over it. So that just kind of lit up all the foreground, balanced it with the background, and did the trick. And I know he's really good with flash and talks about that a lot on his website. And I think if I'm not sure if he teaches. Oh, he's got an ebook, Flash and Nature Photography. So there you go, perfect.
Oh,
Yeah, I knew he did something like that. So certainly worth looking into because
oh,
he's really good at balancing that stuff.
oh, that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. I love it. You know, even though the colors are more pastel, it's still very vivid, and I really love it.
totally. Yeah, definitely. All right, on to the next one. Another one you picked from my good friend Jamin Taylor. Um, I did not get lucky enough to see a scene like this when I was there. The moose were a little bit elusive, and I also was kind of like, I just wanted everything else so much more than moose. But anyway, this is also obviously spring. The moose is in velvet, and what a scene he captured here. All the wildflowers, the moose, and then this like gorgeous mountain in the background. I mean, it's got
Hmm.
everything coming together, and um, I think is better with the vertical composition too. You know, the horizontal one may have been able to include that, but then you would have lost a lot of this foreground and just kind of this lushness and some more of the flowers and stuff like that. So, you know, just nice soft light here and really interesting light in the background. You can see it was kind of probably like a mix of sun and clouds. And so, you know, whether he timed it or not, I'm not sure, but to have the soft light on the foreground and the moose here, and then just a little spotlight of sun back there, and then the top of the mountain and clouds and stuff like that, just really gives a lot of depth and layers to the photo. So, yeah, absolutely love this one.
Mm, I do too. I love the layers of it. I love that he encompassed the landscape with the moose. A lot of times, like with wildlife photography, a lot of the photos that you see are like kind of in your face, and it's only the subject, you know, is in the frame. What I love about this is it encompasses the habitat of the moose, you know, that it has so many layers, and that he takes us into the moose's world, and that we're able to see its surroundings, but still the moose is the primary subject of the photo,
No
you know,
doubt.
and nothing is taken away from the moose. And that's what I really like about this one.
Yeah, totally. That's that perfect description of it. I 100% agree with everything you mentioned there. And then bonus for Jamin with the Bullwinkle hashtag.
I didn't even notice that. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
All right, on to the next one.
Very cool.
Something a little different.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Can you
I
tell what it is
am.
without reading? I can't even hide the I almost just tried to put my hand over the caption on the screen, like that was going to somehow hide it from you.
No, I would definitely not know what it is without, reading the caption.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. The use of the foreground,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, the foreground is blurred, but so is, the background and of the bokeh, and it's very cool. I mean, I have to read the caption.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Well, while you're reading it, yeah, I definitely just loved his use of foreground here. That was
Uh,
one of the things that stood out to me for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you can see the foreground being, the lighter green and the darker green in the background with,
Yep.
like I said, the bokeh is just really makes the bunting pop. And now I know it's a painted bunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just really makes them pop out at you for sure. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the moodiness of it.
Totally moody. Yeah, the dark
Yeah,
like that, and then the
yeah.
bird just being lit up, but then there's some
Hmm.
spots, of sky kind of balancing it out at the top. Yeah, all really cool stuff there. The I always really love too when someone shoots through a foreground, like he just found obviously just like a nice little opening through whatever bush or leaves he was shooting through. So I love what it does to the background shooting through that stuff. So like all these interesting patterns that you see kind of right here, and these like almost kind of like swirly, um, really just funky looking, uh, out of focus bokeh areas, they wouldn't happen if you weren't shooting through some foreground stuff like that. Like if you just take away this foreground, this background would not have that kind of almost painterly look to it. That's totally something that comes from shooting through stuff. And the cool part about it is when you do that, you almost never have a clue what it's going to look like in the final photo. I mean, you can usually kind of see it through the lens, but you never really know what those patterns are going to turn into. So it's almost like almost a harken back to film days in that you kind of start shooting through this stuff and it's kind of like what's going to appear out of this. It gives it a little bit of an element of surprise in taking your own photo, which is a really neat thing. And yeah, he did a great job having that bunting stand out. So
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And the good thing about that is, with never knowing really how it's going to turn out, then it's always like a one of a kind piece of art. And
yeah.
that's exactly what it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, and it's the
Mhm.
kind of thing where I know you and I were working the other day with some foreground stuff, and it's the kind of thing
Yeah,
where you shift like just a little bit. It doesn't take much, and it totally changes the look of everything in it, which is
absolutely.
really fun. Or the wind blows and it changes it, subtle things
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely love the creativity in this one.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he's one of those young guys that's doing all kinds of fun creative stuff. So look at this one. Oh
Mhm.
man, this is
I love this one.
absolutely insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
photo is so damn cool. The the texture on this snake and the way it's curved like that. Like how does that happen? So crazy for that pose to be able to kind of swirl in like that. Like every line is just curving right into that incredible eye on this. And let's see. I don't know if he says the species because this is a post with like just a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of snakes featured here. They just kind of keep going, which they're all really nice. But yeah, this one is certainly a standout shot, and the tones too, with that just kind of yellow and then this little splash of orange, and then the light on the eye is incredible too. So
Yeah, I
love it.
actually I did try reaching out to him to try to find out what species of snake it is. I was trying to narrow it down, and I was either a spot belly snake or maybe a Losian boa or something like that. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure. I'm sure maybe once he sees this or hears, sees
Yeah.
my question, or maybe hears this, maybe he'll respond and tell us exactly. But me too. I absolutely love the texture on this. I love that the leading line takes you right into the eye.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and I love the shape surrounding the eye. It actually kind of looks like the shape of an eye, which I kind of find ironic.
Oh yeah.
That yeah, that is taking us into the eye in the
Yeah.
shape of the
Good point.
coil. Yeah,
That's really
and
cool.
yeah, and the color is just so vibrant right around there too.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, not the largest snake fan, but when I saw this, I was like, oh, I mean, it really caught my eye, and I was
Yeah.
like, this one I definitely have to choose.
Yeah, and what's interesting? The longer you look at it, the more you kind of pick up on different textures. You have like
Right.
the traditional scales here, but then the head has like a totally different pattern of scales in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just really really cool image.
Yeah,
So
definitely had a staying kind of power. You know what I mean? It's
sure.
like it draws you in and it keeps you there and it makes you explore the photo more, which is what I really liked.
Yeah. Is that something you notice yourself doing when you're shooting macro, when you're actually looking through the lens, or is it only kind of come when you look at the photos after the fact, where you start to really see all those details?
You know what? I really see it more after I take the photo, you
Yeah, me
know
too.
what? Yeah, but learning with you, I'm trying to, be more cognizant as I'm looking through the lens. But it's really tough to pick up on those small details when you're looking through the lens. But, I'm trying my best to do that. But this is, yeah, I mean, if he was looking through the lens and he noticed all this stuff at the time, this guy, I'm traveling to Ecuador and going out and looking at snakes for him.
Yeah, totally. Um,
Yeah.
it's I think with the macro stuff, seeing a lot of that detail definitely comes after the fact too, just because we're getting the full effect of the resolution of the cameras and
Mm,
being able to see it, especially if you're editing on a larger screen, you know. So at that point, a lot of the times you're actually being able to view things larger than they were in real life. So you're getting
right.
that additional magnification that doesn't is not possible when you're just looking at it through the lens. So I think that's kind of one of the really neat aspects of macro photography is that it does kind of really allow you to explore those photos a little bit more and see things that maybe you honestly couldn't see with your own eye if you were just out in
Mm.
the field.
I mean, it's almost like in this one, you could reach out and touch those scales, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. What do you
Oh,
think of that one?
nice. That's awesome. That is awesome. I could hear him calling.
Right? Yeah,
I love it. I love the landscape again, just like in the moose picture that I picked. I love that you're invited into its habitat.
yeah.
And like I said, just looking at this one, I seriously can hear him calling. And what makes me wonder, what's going on. Like, is it mating season? Is he calling for a mate? Is there danger? Is he warning someone? So, you know, definitely love that.
Yeah,
Love the
so
colors too.
a little bit about this one. It's a red deer in the Scottish Highlands, which it does say in the caption. But you definitely totally the rut. So it was calling out, and I've actually seen a video from Espen that he shared about some of these deer in the rut. And if you've never heard them call, definitely check it out because not the best sound, not the most majestic sound. It's just like traditional deer kind of rut, just like grunting, groaning noises that are kind of like, ugh. I gotta say, I think like North America, like the elk in North America, are some of the nicest sounding deer that call out like that. Almost all other deer species that I've ever heard sound not great, not elegant at all. It's not really a pretty sound. So but yeah, the tones that he had in this, the great use of foreground too, to kind of
Mhm.
just out of focus blur in the foreground. So boom, the first thing that hits us. And in fact, if I really look at this and expect it, the only thing in focus in this photo is the deer. There's nothing
Mhm.
else in focus. I mean, these rocks and grasses right here start to come in focus, but they're still not tack sharp. So viewing this photo even larger would really
Mm.
show off how there's just nothing else in focus but the deer. So it's like, where else does your eye go? And
Mm.
then, darker foreground. This light little rock is actually kind of pointing up into the deer there, which is great. The pose of this, the calling like that, the light on it is really great. And it's a really nice stag. And then the autumn tones in the background kind of matching the color scheme of the deer, I think is pretty impressive as well. So just
Mhm.
all these things coming together make for a really unique photo. And then it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, there's a little bit of fog hanging back there. It gives like a little sense of more atmosphere to the morning. So you could tell it was probably calm and quiet, and probably just hear these deer just kind of making their racket as they chase each other around. So
Mhm.
pretty
Absolutely
sweet photo,
beautiful.
and I'm
Yeah.
excited. I just, in asking him about using this photo, I got to have a conversation with Espen and now have him scheduled to come on the podcast so we can hear more about his photography and stuff like that. So I'm excited to have him come on the show.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got next. Oh
All
yeah,
right. Yeah.
look at this one. Again, getting back to some really cool use of foreground. Look at these eyes. I mean, this one turn like that is just the absolute best. A pair of baby boreal owls from Chris. Incredibly creative photographer, always pushing the boundaries of things. And so, Yeah, I definitely always love his photography, but this one's certainly a standout. And, you know, the use of foreground here is, to me, really what draws your eye into these birds. I mean, obviously, if we try to imagine the shot without these foreground leaves, so you have just the texture of the rocks there, sure, the eyes are still going to stand out. The kind of darker nature of the cavity and those bright eyes standing out will still certainly pull attention, but that use of foreground takes away all the texture of the rest of the tree there, and so really just kind of pulls your eye into. I mean, it just makes a window for these birds here, and you kind of have nothing else to look at but them. And so I think, again, an incredible use of foreground to really draw your eye in. And then as you spend some time with it, the hilarity of just the way this one's coming in from the side, like, it just cracks you up what these baby birds do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have nothing else to say because you took everything I was going to say. No, I'm
That
kidding.
works.
I was going to say, you know
That's
what?
allowed.
First off, I just want to say that every one of the ones that I chose, and so far the ones that you chose, all of these photographers are extremely creative, and it was so hard to pick 5 photos. But the reason that I picked these photos, especially this one, is, what I love the foreground. I love how the foreground, yeah, just softened the image and took away from, the harshness of the tree and any distractions that might be there, and the angle of them created the leading line that took me right to the owls. And yeah,
Yeah.
the top one is kind of like what are you looking at kind of look, and then when you look at the one that's in there, kind of like, hey, what are you doing,
Looks like it just
I
popped in out of nowhere, right?
exactly
Yeah.
it makes you take a second look and was like, oh, look at him, but no, absolutely beautiful. It just draws me right into the cavity of the tree, and what, the eyes on those owls just pop right out at you.
Yeah, especially because they're so dark in their
Yeah.
plumage at that point. I think these boreal owls will get a little bit lighter as adults, but yeah, they start out so dark like that, which is a really interesting look. And
Mm.
I don't know if that's common among owl species. I'm trying to think of the ones that I've seen photos of young, and they usually aren't darker like that. So might be kind of a unique thing there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, got another one
Okay.
here from my friend Scott.
Oh, nice,
Sticking with the owl
nice.
theme.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, first off, I love owls. You know what? I had the pleasure of capturing one with you while we were down in Florida.
Yeah.
Um, this guy wasn't nearly as beautiful as it is in this picture. It was
Yeah,
actually, a high key photo because the sky was overcast that day. This
that's
is
right. It was.
absolutely remarkable. The background. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know
right.
what's behind there, if that's trees behind them or
Yeah.
the sun setting, but the bokeh of those colors, those oranges, are just so vivid, and it really makes the owl stand out and pop for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I love the framing of the branches around him as well.
Yeah, I think that works really well.
Mhm.
Um, I reached out to Scott to ask him about this photo, and he was kind of like, "Oh, are you sure? I think that one's a little busy." And I'm like, "Nah, man, it's busy in all the right ways, you know."
Exactly.
Um, yeah, again, a curve here leading up. This green vined branch back here, kind of framing in on that side. This branch framing
Mhm.
in here. Got another one coming in over top. Right, everything's kind of all pointing right into here, and the having this splash of these dark greens against this splash of vivid orange and almost reds
Mhm.
in the background from those autumn trees out of focus back there are great. And then the background just being a little bit lighter like that really kind of helps to offset the bird and kind of make the bird stand out even more, I think. But he
Mhm.
still manages to get great light on the owl itself. So killer light in the eyes, great detail. You can see the talons easily right there, and then perfect eye contact, and
Mhm.
then just a little ruffle in the feathers for some nice added bonus detail there. And I mean, I've seen barred owl shots from him as well as plenty of other photographers where it's just perched on just like a perfectly clean perch with a smooth out of focus background and no distraction whatsoever. And there's certainly a place for that. I think those are still great shots, but this one reminds me a lot more of the actual habitat. It seems less perfect in a good way,
Mhm.
because it just kind of screams like, yeah, this is where the bird was, and he found the best shot and angle to make it look the best it can in that spot. And yeah, just the color scheme overall really kind of made this one stand out to me, because I haven't seen too many that kind of feature
Hmm.
at least those types of fall colors in the background, and then the contrast of the dark greens too.
Absolutely. I love it. Absolutely love it.
All right, let's see what we got next. Oh, from
Oh,
Theo. Nice choice, Lynette.
yes. Thank
Everything
you.
Theo does is awesome, but yeah, this is I'm guessing a marbled godwit. Let's see. Yep, marbled godwit. Ooh, nailed it. Nice. I knew it was a godwit. I just didn't know if it was, what kind. Because Theo travels the entire countryside, and he's in South America still, but so he has birds from all over the place. Um, Incredible silhouette. Amazing action. The wings up like that. Just being able to capture that split second moment where you can tell just before it takes off. So there's so much anticipation in this photo, and then shooting into the sun like that, as you know, you've done it with me sometimes in these kind of scenarios where you're out in these open marshes and beachy areas. And so very challenging, challenges the focus system. So I know it's not an easy shot to technically get as well. But yeah, Theo always manages to find a way, and he has such a vision to be able to kind of creatively light and compose things. And while this isn't like some amazing composition, right, it's pretty standard as far as it being just kind of tight and frame filling. It still has something to it. There's a little bit of space, a little bit of bokeh back here. The flare of like the glare of the sun coming in up here is nice, because it kind of gives the viewer that same feeling of looking into the sun as you get when you're there. Almost makes you want to squint a little bit. And so all those things come together to make just an outstanding photo.
Hmm. I agree. I love it. It is warm and
Yeah.
dreamy for sure. You envision like just being laying out there in the sun on the beach, with this godwit. I love his perspective. I love his low angle. You can see he's clearly down low,
Oh yeah.
right at the water's edge. I love the fact that there's action. Again, you took everything that I was going to say. There's definitely action. You can see the water droplet coming off. So I too guessed that it was takeoff because of that.
Yeah.
The dreaminess of the backlit wings, and it looks like a little bit of rim light in there as well.
Yeah, totally.
Which is something, yeah, like you said, I've shot with you or attempted to shoot with you. However, haven't perfected it yet, but definitely something I want to explore more. And I just absolutely loved it. I mean, it brought warmth to me the moment that I looked at it.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely has that feel. And you know what's so funny too? You never know what the actual temperatures were. So I don't know what time of year it was where he shot this. I've totally been in scenarios where I've shot photos similar to this, at least that look this way. Not the same species, but just that warm glow. And it, in the photos, it just kind of looks like, it's a nice like warm summer day. So I've shot some that have been on that nice warm summer day, and I've shot some where I've been just freezing and shaking because it's like so cold, from either cold water, cold wind, who knows, whatever, and it's still, the nice thing about the still photo is it takes the temperature right out of the equation. So you can kind of just imagine it was a nice, warm, beautiful sunset or sunrise, either way. And who knows what it actually was in reality.
Absolutely. Well, I've been out there on those cold mornings with you as
Oh, yes, you
well. Wet
have.
mornings, cold mornings, yeah, in the water, out of the water. But his photo and all of the photos, that we've used today, they kind of, like I said, they take you in, they invite you in, and
Yeah,
allow you to imagine for yourself, the surroundings, the environment, and what was going on, which is what I love. It makes you wonder and want to really, even make up your own story that goes with the photo, even if you don't read, their captions and what it was about. You can envision it, and you can place yourself there, which is what I like about them.
definitely. That's what good photos do. A little bit of
Hmm.
transportation to us.
Oh, nice. Nice. I have not gotten a wood duck yet.
You haven't? Oh, we'll have to
I
work on
have
that then.
not. Yeah, we do have to work on that. Oh, love it. Love the reflection. I
Yeah,
love, what it's like looking into glass, honestly. The colors of this bird is so vivid and
unbelievable,
beautiful.
aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, definitely a capture, definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, and this was a photo, it stood out to me just because it was so clean. So in my own photography, I tend to go back and forth on this style of photography, of the just this is just super clean, close, you know, no distraction background, and real solid light, you know, like
Mhm.
excellent light, I should say.
Mhm.
And I somehow in my own photography get bored of that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But this one, I think it's just the tones of everything that kind of I was far from bored with this photo, you know?
Mhm.
I've seen so many wood duck portraits that are just kind of close and clean and well lit like this, but this one still somehow stood out. And I think these warm goldenish brown tones in the background are what really took it to the next level for me.
Mhm.
You know, all of the shots whenever I photograph this species, the most common place I photograph them, it just has like kind of a real dark kind of gray to blackish background, which can be nice, but it doesn't have these warm tones that you get here. And then there's a lot of other little subtle things on this one. You know, what you mentioned, the reflection is really good. The
Mhm.
really low angle is really good. And then just the water drops coming off the beak. So you can
Mhm.
tell it just came
Mhm.
from like dipping its beak in the water kind of thing. And the eye contact is outstanding on this. And it's a really good head angle. So it's coming towards us a little bit. So it's engaging, but it's a nice side profile. So we get to see all those colors and the interesting black and white lines and feather detail on this bird, which it really is amazing that this bird grows feathers like that.
It is.
You know,
It's
it's
gorgeous.
insane.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love
So,
it. Good pick, Ray.
yeah, thanks.
Good pick. You're welcome.
All right. That wraps it up. We did it.
We
So,
did it.
is where's the best place for people to follow your photography? Is it here on Instagram or somewhere else?
It is on Instagram at
Okay.
Photos by Mimi NJ. That's one of the best places. Um, I also have Wildlife by Mimi on Facebook as well.
Okay. Perfect. All right, Lynette, thank you so much. I had a great time talking to you about this, and you picked some really good photos, and really nice to hear your thoughts about it. You're thinking more than I am half the time about these photos, which is awesome. Love seeing that. You know, I love seeing how you're really kind of exploring the thought behind a lot of these photos versus just pretty photo. You know.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.